You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Come on, Dick. You don't like this song, man? This is awesome.
I give it to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jake from Sports Talk. I've got my khakis on, and I'm ready to go. How's everybody doing out there this afternoon? Welcome to the newest show here on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5, 106.1, and worldwide on irlonestar.com. It is Jake from Sports Talk, and I'm glad to be the newest show. I'm so excited to get this started. I've been, hounding Dick to get this thing going for a while now. And if you're listening and you're thinking, who is that sexy voice? It sounds so familiar. Yes, I am Jake the engineer to the rest of the Talk Block segments. But for this wonderful hour, every Wednesday from 1 to 2, I am Jake from Sports Talk. And the funny thing about the whole name and situation and everything is even on my first day here, I introduced myself to Dick, and Dick goes, "Oh, like Jake from, State Farm." And I said, no, not like Jake from State Farm. I cannot stand that name. It frustrates the heck out of me. But you know what? I embrace it, and I am Jake from Sports Talk. So that's awesome. I'm from Sam Houston State University. I've got a sports background there. I worked at the radio station up there and did some play-by-play for their football, baseball, and basketball programs there as well. So I do have a little bit of knowledge and background in the sports industry. So, trust me, believe me, hate me, whatever you want. Just listen. I don't care. And you can listen here on 104.5, 106.1, or, as Dick said in the intro, we will have YouTube, SoundCloud, podcasts, Google Play, Facebook, all that good stuff up and ready for this show for you guys to consume the show and everything like that. So enough of the intro nonsense. Let's get on over to the actual show itself. So how this show is going to kind of work out, we're going to start out this first segment. It's going to always be a little a short, brief intro into what has happened since the last time we talked. So every Wednesday, you're going to hear me from 1 to 2, and I'll just do a quick brief what has happened in the last week. And obviously, if you've been paying attention to the sports world, the two major incidents have been the NBA Finals wrapping up and the NHL Finals wrapping up and taking us into the official dog days of summer with nothing but baseball. Lots of baseball. Very long and interesting baseball. No, I love me some baseball. But yeah, so the NBA Finals wrapped up. Warriors won Game 5. Wasn't much of a series. LeBron and the NBA all together, pitched in for a collusion and Game 4 win in Cleveland, but it didn't really matter. It was a moot point because of how dominant this team is. And we're going to talk a little bit later about, what this means for the NBA, and we're going to, dive into that a little bit. But yeah, it wasn't a very thrilling series. It wasn't a very thrilling series or season either. The entire NBA playoffs and the entire NBA season, we all knew who was going to be in the finals, and we were looking so much forward to this. We built it up. You had NBA analysts joking around saying that, hey, look, this is the actual start of the NBA season once the finals started, and it didn't live up to expectations, and it was terrible. It was an awful product, and we're going to talk about what the NBA is going to face over the next 3 to 4 to 5 years, and the problems that this sort of lack of talent league-wide is going to propose for the league. So, and then, as I said, you got Pittsburgh winning the NHL Finals in 6 games over Nashville. That was just a fun series altogether. It was fun to watch the 16th overall seed, the lowest seed of the entire NHL playoffs, go through sweep in round 1, took it to, I believe, 6 games in round 2 and won, and then in round 3 they won 6 games as well. And so then to make it all the way to the NHL Finals, this little old team from Nashville, just the little engine that could, that could fight up that hill. So it was a real entertaining series. Unfortunately, Pittsburgh they were the better team. And as much as I can't stand Sidney Crosby, they were superior in just about every fashion. So it was not the outcome I wanted. I really wanted Nashville to win, but it was a fun series. It was much better than watching the NBA Finals. So it was at least somewhat competitive. Nashville gave them a fight at home, but I think that 6-0 loss in game 5 really just took the wind out of Nashville's sails, and it kind of left them out to dry. So unfortunately, we're finished with the NHL, and we're finished with the NBA, and we have basically 3 months until football starts. So we are in the summer hole where if you're a sports fan, you're scrapping for anything and everything that you can get that's related to Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or whatever gossip is going on with LeBron James and when he's going to move and all the stupid nonsense that goes on in the sports world, because we're so desperate for some sort of entertainment. And the next major event isn't going to be until the All-Star break for the MLB, which that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day too. So, but all right, Dick, I think we're ready to send it off over to a break now. So stay tuned. Keep listening to Jake from Sports Talk here on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5, 106.1, and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That's Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on the computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. A Lone Star Community Radio, broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
I don't know how you guys don't like this song. I love this. I found it on YouTube of the free royalty-free section, and I fell in love immediately. This is my jam right here.
It doesn't take much for you to fall in love, does it, Jake?
No, it doesn't. I'm an easygoing guy. So no, yes, you are listening to Jake from Sports Talk here on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5, 106.1, and worldwide on irlonestar.com. Don't forget to tune in later and get the replay on all of our Google Play, SoundCloud, YouTube, my Facebook, and everything like that. You can go to irlonestar.com. It'll have all those links and everything like that. And if you ever want to message me or get a hold of me, you can go through Facebook or you can go through my email. Email me at jlafleur99@yahoo.com. So it'll all be on the website and everything like that, so you can get in touch with me. My family is asked me several times, Dick, about the call-in factor. When can they call in? How can they call in? I keep telling them, you can't call in. First of all, even if you could, I wouldn't allow you to call in because I don't want to deal with your ridiculousness. So, and I'm sure they're listening right now, and they're going to text me here in a second, give me some crap, but oh well. So, as I was talking before in the last segment, a little bit about the NBA and the struggle that they're facing right now. With the current problem, the dominance that they are seeing from the Golden State Warriors and how much better they are than just anybody in the rest of the league. And to give you a little sample or a little backing on this, Vegas has 4 teams in the entire NBA that are under 30-1 odds for next year's championships. Only 4. Those are the Celtics at 30-1. The Spurs at 22-1, Cleveland at 8-1, and Golden State at 2-1. You're saying, well, that's probably like that in all the sports. No. I think currently for the NFL, there's I think 18 or 19 teams that are under 30-1 to win the championship this upcoming year. I mean, and you're looking at like the Wizards. The Wizards were right there, and they were a part of. They were one that they considered to be eligible to beat Cleveland in the Eastern Conference, but they're like 60-1, I think, in odds for Vegas to win next year. So this is a problem that the NBA really has to, and there's not much they can do about it, unfortunately, because the free agency market that's coming up in this offseason, the drafts that's going to occur. I mean, the Lakers are going to get LeVar Ball, and that's great, but the Lakers are, multiple pieces away from a championship, and it's going to take a whole lot for them to get up back to that competitive level. The Celtics, they've got a hole in the middle, essentially at the point guard position with Isaiah Thomas. Yeah, he's a great player. He's got a ton of heart, but when it comes down to the basic facts of it, he's too small for the NBA. I mean, he's just too little to be the point guard and to be your number one player. So, I mean, and those are your traditional powerhouses. You got Chicago with Dwayne Wade going into free agency, and he's not what they thought he was going to be. Even if he returns, it's not somebody that is going to make a difference. Rondo is there; it's not going to make a difference. You're going to see the entire Clippers probably disassemble this entire offseason. And so that leads you into the free agency market of who you can go pick up. Well, Russell Westbrook's already off the market. Oklahoma secured him up. Paul George. If Cleveland picks up Paul George, is that really going to make a difference? No. And they're not going to be able to keep Love if they do that. Blake Griffin. If Cleveland picks up Blake Griffin, again, they're not going to be able to keep Love. And arguably, Blake Griffin's not as good as Love, depending on who you're coming from. Chris Paul. Yeah, so that's a facilitator. They could bring him in so that they're going to try to fit him in, and he'd basically take Tristan Thompson's place. But how are you going to afford to bring him in, pay him what he's going to ask to be paid, and be able to keep the current big three in contact? I mean, what Golden State did with KD and how they restructured all of those big three contracts and how they made it work is rare. And it takes four special guys to say, look, we'll take the pay cut. We'll do it if that means we get to beat LeBron. And unfortunately, I don't see LeBron doing that. Not saying that LeBron's selfish or anything, but he is very much empower the player, and the player should get paid as much as he is worth. And LeBron is worth he's worth the max contract. And Cleveland's not going to go into the penalty bonus for a Chris Paul, who, yeah, makes their team a little bit better, but does that make them Golden State Warriors good? No, I don't think so. And outside of those key players, there's nobody left in the NBA that you can say, yeah, if we bring them on a part of Cleveland, yeah, then they're gonna be eligible or able to beat Golden State. There's no way it's just not going to happen. So now the NBA has the problem of, well, how do we make sure that this lottery draft that we put in place, that we put into a system late 1990s, and we did it in order to prevent this sort of situation happening. So how do we make sure that that works? Well, first of all, you can't if you're just bringing in first-year rookie players out of NCAA. It's not going to work that way. They're not coming in NBA ready, and it's taking them 3 to 4 years to fully develop and to turn into quality NBA players. I mean, even Steph, look at Curry. I mean, he blew up on the scene. He came into the NBA. Nobody knew who he was. He had, very little following. And all of a sudden, he blows up on the scene. He's making, 43s a game, and he's everybody's number one player. Well, it took him that 3 or 4 years to develop into that sort of player. So what the NBA needs to do is they need to go and they need to change that rule. And they need to say that the college players need to stay longer and develop as players longer in the college level under great coaches like Krzyzewski or Calipari. Take your pick. They're all over the place. Even the new Ohio State coach that they just got. Those guys will develop them into NBA-ready players. I mean, that's what their whole system is built on right now, is taking in the best players that are the most NBA-ready and turning them into a year process as much of an NBA player as they can. Now, if you put them in that system for 2, 3, or 4 years, and I'm not saying that you can't, allow them to, you have to force them to stay for 4 full years. No. I like what the NCAA baseball does. You got two options. You're either, you can go pro right away if you're eligible, or if NBA or if a MLB team thinks you're good enough, or you have to stay for 3 years. I like that idea. But if not, then, if they stay for 3 years, then I guarantee you get a better product, and you get those Sixers who've been in the gutter for how many odd years now, Pistons who have been in the gutters for how many odd years now, and the Lakers who have been horrible ever since blowing all their money on Kobe for 3-4 years of injured and terrible Kobe and no product out of there. So I'm thinking, if you really want to make a difference here, and unfortunately for the next 3, 4, 5 years, you're stuck with this. This is the product that we're going to have, where it's, okay, 2 teams are going to make it to the NBA Finals. It's going to be Golden State and it's going to be Cleveland. And then it's going to be who has the best team that year. And it's probably not going to be the great series that we want every year. And, we're not going to get the 2016 series where it goes 7 games and LeBron and Irving and Tristan Thompson, put together this, 3-1 comeback that is just outstanding. No, it's not going to be that every year. And that's what we wanted this year, and it's what we want every year. But unfortunately, it's not going to happen because Golden State is that good. And with KD, he is going to be a free agent, but he already said he's going to re-sign with Golden State. And if he has to take less money than he's making right now, he has no problem doing that. He says that he loves working there. And heck, more power to him, man. I agree with that. But the NBA has to do something with these college players. They have to make it a better feeding process. If you're not going to have a solid minor league system for them to go and continue to develop in and make money, then you have to make it a better process to where they are truly developing through the college level. And so that when they come into the NBA, those lower ranked teams that are throwing games, that are trying to get that lottery pick, they're actually getting something that's worthwhile and not just a waste of their time. So, and we're going to come back right after this segment, and we're going to talk about how the famous 1980s Lakers-Celtics battle, how that was kind of similar to what we're seeing right now in the NBA, but how that was a good thing for the NBA, whereas this is a bad thing for the NBA. So stay tuned. Keep listening to Jake from Sports Talk here on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5, 106.1, and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Our talk shows and music shows are looking for sponsors. Want to expand your brand awareness? Reach the hyper-local audience in Montgomery County? Lone Star Community Radio sponsorships accomplish this. Want to see our stats and rates? Check out irlonestar.com/sponsor for more information. Or call in and leave us a message at 936-647-3776 with your questions. Get seen on TV, YouTube, and heard on our podcast, FM, and internet radio. Support your local radio station with Lone Star Community Radio.
Yeah, we got the intern Stephanie back there dancing now. She likes the song, I'm telling you. It's good stuff, Nick. It's good stuff. I got a text message during the last segment she's trying to make up for it now. My sister-in-law is listening to me, and she says, what are you wearing, Jake from Sports Talk? You sound hideous. And then she responded with, yes, we can text you in and make fun of you. And then as well, she follows it up trying to make it all better, saying, you sound great. So proud of you. My family is so weird. All right, guys. This is Jake from Sports Talk here on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5, 106.1, and worldwide on irlonestar.com. Glad to be on here. Glad to have my first official day. Enjoying it so far as a show host goes. I've been here for a while now, and that's why most of you might recognize my voice. I am Jake, the engineer for the other sports or for the other talk shows. But now I am Jake from Sports Talk, and yes, I am wearing my khakis. I am representing. I don't have my red shirt on today, but I need to have my red shirt on. Next time I come in, I'll have my red shirt. But before we went to the break, we were talking about the struggles that the NBA is currently going through right now. what they can really do to fix it. And that was my sort of scenario, and what I think the best solution is for this situation. Now, is that something that's going to be followed? No. The NBA is happy with their one and done situation, and they like that, and that's good. I think they're gonna see a struggle from it, but hey, to each their own. But to talk about a struggle that the NBA went through and came out of it due to one rivalry in particular, we have the 1980s rivalry between the Lakers and the Celtics.
It's a matchup that everyone has waited for. The classic showdown. The Celtics and the Lakers.
We knew, without a doubt, that we were the better basketball team. We were not going to lose to them damn Lakers. We had no respect for them. None. Zero. Tragic magic.
The Celtics call us chokers and fakers and sissies.
There's one thing I hate in life. It's the Boston Celtics.
That right there, that gives me chills every time I hear it. I'm 23 years old, so obviously this is before my time. I never actually lived through the Larry Bird and the Magic Celtics Lakers rivalry, but that credit that video clip to ESPN 30 for 30. It was the Best of Enemies, and it aired parts 1 and 2 were last night. Part 3 is tonight. And I love those 30 for 30s. They do such a great job with covering their topics and stuff. But this 30 for 30 is coming out at the perfect time, because the NBA prior to this, not a lot of people, realize this. Unless you're, a major NBA fan, not a lot of people realize that the Lakers and the Celtics, these two iconic, historic programs, they couldn't sell out an arena. They couldn't fill their arena. They had I believe it was below a 40% occupancy through their entire home games that year, prior to the official start of this rivalry. And then to look at all the iconic players, Pat Riley, Bird, Magic, all involved in this rivalry and this situation, and it really, I don't even want to say it renewed it. It sort of it generated the following of the NBA that we see today. How popular it is because of that 1980s rivalry between these two iconic franchises. And even before this, yeah, they were iconic, they were well-known franchises, but I think this series, again, coming from somebody who's 23 years old and never lived through it, never really got to see the Jordan days or anything like that, but this series and this battle, really made the NBA into what it was today. And man, it was so brutal back then. It was so, it was fierce. It was elbows. Literally, there's a video clip of Larry Bird choking out, and I forget which Laker player it was, but he literally he had his entire hand around the guy's throat. And these two teams, legitimately hated one another, and people loved to watch it. It was so entertaining, and it was so great. And these two teams, it was finals after finals after finals, just going at each other, one after another after another. And you say, well, Jake, what's the difference between, that rivalry and what we're seeing today between the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers? Well, the big difference is that this sort of situation is Julius Erving. Thank you. Thanks, Dick. That's good engineering work right there. Good producer work. Enjoy it. So, what was I saying? You threw me off now.
How this is different from today's rivalry.
How this is different. There we go. How this was different from, what we're seeing today. Well, so the problem is that you had two dominant teams back then, but there was a true rivalry between these two teams and a true hatred between these two teams. But between the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers, there's no hatred. These guys don't hate one another. You heard at the end of that clip, Magic literally said, "There's one thing I hate in this world, and that's the Celtics, the Boston Celtics. I can't, that doesn't exist." LeBron James, after watching Golden State Warriors win this championship, went over and hugged Curry and hugged those guys and said congratulations. You think Larry Bird would have went over and hugged, Magic? No, Magic would have slapped him away. Same thing if it was the other way around. There's no way these guys would have gone and done this. And so it was a true legitimate rivalry. So from a fan's perspective, you had the entertainment of this series, of that series. But with this series that we're currently seeing right now, you're not seeing the entertainment there as well. You didn't see, the Lakers sweep through the Western Conference, and you didn't see the Celtics sweep through the Eastern Conference. No, you saw them pushed. You saw them, have to struggle, have to go 6 and 7 games against, teams in the second and third round, and even in the first round, but when they got there, it was 6-7 game series every year, and they were just to the tooth and nail, hard fought. Some of the best basketball that you will ever see, elbows to the face, literally throwing guys down and choking them. You saw that. Now, what we're seeing now, Golden State nearly swept through the entire, including the finals. They lost one game this entire playoffs. Up to the NBA Finals, the Cleveland Cavaliers lost just one game. So you're just not seeing the competitiveness for the rest of the league. The gap between Cleveland Cavaliers and the rest of the league is much greater than what you saw from either Celtics or Lakers back in the day. And if it's that big of a gap between Cleveland and the rest of the league now, and we saw how big of a gap it was between Golden State and Cleveland, that means the gap between Golden State and the rest of the league is bar none. I mean, you're talking about if you took the NBA West All-Stars and put them on a normal team, that's what you would be seeing essentially playing against every other team in the league. And so it's not compelling. It's terrible basketball. And with the transition of where all the TV rights are going and everything, I think you're going to see a serious drop off from NBA popularity over the next 3 to 4 and even to 5 years. If they don't find a way, or if they can't finagle away like they did with the Pelicans to create something interesting for the casual NBA consumer, because the NBA super fan is going to watch no matter what. But for the casual NBA fan, you have to find a way. You've got to try to get them to come in. So, hey, speaking of casual fans and dying sports and things that, bore people, we're going to talk baseball next. So stay tuned. Keep listening to Jake from Sports Talk here on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5, 106.1, and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Don't miss Lone Star Community Radio on TV and YouTube. Our talk show and music shows are featured on Our City TV, Suddenlink Channel 12, and have their own YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to keep up with posted shows and comment on them below the video.
Boom, 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 lay. Hey guys, if you're listening to Jake from Sports Talk here on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5, 106.1, and worldwide on irlonestar.com. If you like this song and you want to prove my engineer Dick wrong, then contact me. You go to either the IR Lone Star webpage and you can get all my contact info from there, and or you can send me an email at jlafleur99@yahoo.com and let me know that my engineer is wrong about this song, because I really like this song, and if he thinks he's technically my boss, so if he thinks it's bad, I might have to change it, which would be really sad. So pour in your love and let me know that it's a good song and I can keep it. I really like that song. So my family texting me wise, that's not going to help. So thanks but no thanks. All right, guys. Like I said before the break, we're gonna touch in and we're gonna talk about a little bit of baseball talk here. We've got the All-Star break coming up in a couple of months, and outside of that, there's not a whole lot of interesting topics really going on with the baseball world right now. Your Astros here in the close to the Montgomery County, down in the Houston area, are on fire. They've got the best record in the major leagues all together. You've got the Yankees throwing up a good surprise, and leading the AL East by 3 games. Nobody thought they were going to be this good at this point in the season. I've heard multiple analysts say that, yeah, they've got a hot start or whatever, but it'll taper off. It'll stop, come middle of the season. But we're at the middle of the season now, and it's still there. The other team would be the Red Sox. Red Sox are underperforming this year. Their bats have not been as good, and as predicted. They've had better pitching performances than I think most people would have expected with the injury to Price and everything like that. But then the bigger surprise, I mean, they're still only 3 games back from the Yankees, so it's not like doom and gloom sort of situation right now. But I think a lot of people expected them to be better than where they're at right now. But the big surprise, if the playoffs started tomorrow, if the season ended tonight was the last game, the Chicago Cubs would not make the playoffs. The Chicago Cubs at 500 right now, sitting at 32-32, would not make the playoffs. They're 7 games back out of the wild card. Isn't that unbelievable? Coming off of this historic curse breaking, although I never thought they were actually cursed because, that's nonsense and a half, but that's here nor there. It's another story for a different day. But to come off of this sort of season and winning the championship and making so many fans 95, 96 years old cry and they can finally die happy and new babies are born and they're named all these different Cubs players. Aroldis Chapman, that would be a terrible name for a baby. I'd be so sad for that kid. But no, yeah, to turn around and to say, okay, we're expecting this sort of new dynasty to form from this with Theo and all these young players, and to be 7 games back out of a wild card position, not just in division, but out of a wild card position, and to be only at 500 up to this point, it's alarming. I mean, it really is. And like I said, the Astros, I mean, with a 667 average right now, 44-22, they're on a 3-game losing streak as I say this too, but they have a legitimate chance to get close to the most wins in a regular season by a MLB franchise. And to say that the Astros are your biggest talking point for the MLB season, for being from Houston, I mean, that's awesome for us, right? That's great for the city of Houston. That's bringing, I'm sure, some revenue boosts for the stadium and for the restaurants and businesses around that area. But man, from a baseball standpoint, for the Houston Astros to be your and the Yankees, I guess, but for the Houston Astros to be your main talking point, it's sad, and it shows how slow baseball is going right now. And the Yankees, I mean, the Yankees, this is probably the least hateable Yankees ever, with no A-Rod, no Jeter, no Steinbrenner. I mean, people legitimately like this Aaron Judge. This young kid that they have playing for him is an outfielder. He's practically the Empire State Building playing right field for him. This guy's huge, and he didn't introduce it, but he has made this exit velocity stat for baseball more popular than ever, because this guy is, the exit velocity is how fast the ball is traveling from the point of contact when it leaves the bat. It's the dumbest stat in the history of baseball, and it just shows how desperate baseball fans are right now, clinging on to this ridiculous stat. Yes, it's awesome. It's cool to see that, when he hits a ball, it travels at 124.9 miles per hour off of the bat. Like, that's really cool to hear and see, but it means nothing for me as a baseball fan. It's literally a useless stat. But yes, he crushed a home run. He broke the record, or whatever the record. They've only been tracking this for like 4 or 5 years now, but he broke the record. 120. It was 129 miles, or 124.9 miles per hour off of the bat the other night, in a big win actually for the Yankees too. But he he's leading this excitement, and people love him, not just in New York. I mean, commentators, fans from other, just casual MLB fans, they love this Aaron Judge guy, and he's the next Derek Jeter. He's the next face of the franchise for the Yankees, and he's going to be the one that in 15 to 20 years, people idolize him. He's going to have a statue because he's that good. He's a 5-tool player. He's got the arm, he's got the fielding ability, and he's got the bat. And that's the biggest thing. That bat is going to make him more popular, I think, than what Derek Jeter was ever in New York, because he's going to hit more home runs, and he's going to hit for the power, and his slugging is going to be that much better than what Jeter's was. Jeter was your hustle infielder, little man sort of syndrome, trying his hardest all the time, but he never was able to hit for the power in which Aaron Judge can, and I think that's going to make it's going to make Judge even more popular. But that's it. That's it. The popularity of the MLB is gone. It's nothing what it used to be, and you're seeing, more and more people in the sports talk world dread how much they have to talk about baseball, because it's that hard to make it compelling, to make it interesting radio. And I'm not even going to go into a way to try to solve this problem for the MLB, because there's no real way to do it. It's not a tangible solution that's easily achieved, right? It's an expensive sport to play if you're going to be good. If you're going to play at a competitive level, then you've got to do travel ball, and therefore it eliminates a portion of the youth from playing it. And then if you got to have a field of some sort, and a lot of the inner city kids don't have those fields in those situations, and so it's a real challenge. It makes it hard, and the MLB is trying to do a lot to make it more fun and to make the games move at a faster pace, but man, they're a ways away from making. I heard an idea the other day that they should put ball pits on the other side of they should lower the outfield fence, put ball pits on the back side of the fence, and so that way players had to jump over into the ball pits to catch, stop from a home run going over the wall. They were, coming up with just all these ridiculous ideas that I was like, I would actually probably pay to watch that compared to what I'm, paying to watch now. And it's so expensive to go to a game. If you've got 3 kids like my brother and sister-in-law do, that's $150, on tickets alone, if not more. And then you're going to spend $200 on food and beverage, and then you got to do parking, and you got to pay gas to drive down there. It's not practical to go to a game anymore, and I think that hurts the MLB even more so than the pace of play or anything like that. So, but when we come back, we got a funny story about an MLB situation, and I want to get my manager Dick's opinion in on this too, because I think he might have a little different opinion about what Mr. Met, the Mets mascot, did about a week ago. So stay tuned. You're listening to Jake from Sports Talk here on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5, 106.1, and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Lone Star Community Radio is ready for the summer. If you or anyone you know is looking for summer internships, Lone Star Community Radio is a great place to learn the radio and TV business. Contact the station at info@irlonestar.com or call the station's message line at 936-647-3776. Lone Star Community Radio offers a great opportunity to those interested in learning about the radio world.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Jake from Sports Talk. I do have my khakis on. My dad says he doesn't like the song, and I'm really sad about that. And he believes that Aaron Judge is a one-year wonder and that pitchers will learn how to pitch to him. I can guarantee you he's wrong right there. But you are listening to Jake from Sports Talk here on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5, 106.1, and worldwide on irlonestar.com. Wow, I just forgot the website of the station. I'm sorry, Dick. I apologize. Don't fire me, please. If you do miss this show, or if you ever want to listen to it again, or if you want to tell your friends about how awesome this show was and how they need to listen to it every week, you can tell them to listen to it live on irlonestar.com or at one of the radio stations from 1 to 2 every Wednesday. If not, they can go on to SoundCloud, Google Play, YouTube, my Facebook, or irlonestar.com to get all those links, and they can go back and listen to the replay of it, and we can and they can listen to it and enjoy it that way. So, but before we went to break, I was teasing a little bit about Mr. Met and what Mr. Met did about a week and a half ago now at a Mr. Mets game, or at a New York Mets game, and it was really comical, and I found it funny more so, and I want to know what my engineer Dick believes, what he thinks about the situation. But Mr. Met was going through, and he got irritated with one of the fans, and he made an initial gesture to a group of fans that were sitting there, and they were trash talking back and forth with Mr. Met, and Mr. Met got fed up with it, and so he made a gesture towards him, and security saw Mr. Met do this, and security started to escort Mr. Met out of the stadium, and these same set of fans walked over and got a video of them finishing up their heckling of Mr. Met, and Mr. Met turns around, and it depends on how you interpret it. I was showing Dick the video earlier, and he said, no, that's a full-on gesture of inappropriate nature. And I said, no, I think he was just trying to hold down. Anyways, he flips off the fans in either one or two fashions, depending on how you see it. And they get it on video and everything, and Mr. Met gets fired, and all this stuff plays out. I thought the situation was comical, and I think it's set up perfectly for what I would like to have, become a staple, a part of this show, which the staple is the Chocolat Bleuet sort of situation. It's the comical moment, what was funny from, the sports world this past week. And if you don't know the Chocolat Bleu situation, 1999 British Open, what's his name? Oh, it was Jean van der Velde, however you pronounce his name, at Carnoustie, blew it. He had a 3-stroke lead going into 18, puts it in the water, takes off his shoes to go hit the ball, decides not to hit it, takes a drop. He ends up blowing it and blowing a three-shot lead and losing the British Open in a playoff. And so when you hear this music played, this will be the sound of the Chocolat Bleu sort of segment.
You have to remember, putting in perspective, it's a game. It's a game, all right? It's not, it's not like life and death or whatever, It's your name down on the trophy. We all going for that, and we all want it very, very hard. But at the end of the day, who will remember in 200 years? I have nothing to be sad about. Okay, the ending, fine. Who will want an ending like this? But at the end of the day, what has Carnoustie brought me? And that's really, in life you have a glass in front of you. Hopefully it's a glass of red wine for me. And is it half empty or is it half full? Especially if you drank the first half. What are you going to be sad about?
That's a man losing the British Open, trying to make the best of the situation. But man, I can't even imagine what he was going through. So that's the Chocolat Bleu sort of situation that I want to bring the comical errors of the sports world, of going in, taking off your shoes, going into the water, preparing to hit a ball out of the water, getting out, taking a drop, bouncing it into the trap, and losing a 3-stroke lead on 18. One of the worst meltdowns in PGA history. But the reason, or the candidate that won the Chocolat Bleu moment from this past week and a half or so, was Mr. Met and flicking off the situation. And I think we've got the Jon Stewart TMZ Sports video ready to go. Yeah. So Jon Stewart was stopped by TMZ Sports and asked about this, and I think he has the perfect mindset when it comes to this situation.
You're a big Met fan, right?
I am a big Met fan.
How do you feel about Mr. Met giving the middle finger yesterday?
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Mr. Met is maligned. Here's a guy, he has a baseball for a head.
Yeah.
And yet he chooses to go to work in a place that is filled with baseball bats, his natural enemy.
Yes.
So you gotta figure this is a guy that's very anxious, and I'm not surprised. It's been a long time coming.
Do you think it's a Mets play of recent as many of the reasons? Besides the past few games.
It's certainly why I've been giving people the middle finger, but I don't know about Mr. Met. But he's a good man.
Fair enough. Great team, Mr. Stewart.
The Mets play probably had a lot to do with that situation, but no, I think that's the perfect way to go about and handle this. I understand why the Mets had to fire him, but the comical factor of it, the comical nature of why he got fired is hilarious. And I think Jon Stewart has the right mindset. You can't go into it and be sports fan.
I'm interested in that one baseball player who did flick off fans. Was he escorted out?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't escorted out. Dick is talking about Yasiel Puig, who is the outfielder for the Dodgers. He took a double middle finger to a series of fans who were heckling him behind the batting circle, and he hits a home run. And as he's rounding third base, Puig with two hands flicks him off, and no consequences, nothing for Puig. And yet Mr. Met gets ejected, and I just don't think that's fair. I think that's mascot discrimination.
Exactly.
I don't like it. I think it's because he's got a big head for a baseball.
What would be great is the next thing we see with Mr. Met, he doesn't have hands.
Oh, like he can,
next thing you see, like the character's gonna have mittens or something like that, so he can't.
Just like a song.
It can never happen again.
You know what I want to see is I want to see just like Mr. Met, not the guy who got fired, but I want to see actual Mr. Met walking through unemployment with his big head and just looking for a job as a mascot. Just like, what happened?
Well, he's a baseball, so he can probably find other teams.
Oh, I don't know. But the Mrs. Met came out, and after this all happened, and apparently the lady was, joking or not happy about it, and she was making light of the situation. I don't know if she painted on, if she sewed on, or what happened, but she sewed on a giant blue tear below her eyes, and she sent it out and said, R.I.P. or farewell, sort of Mr. Met situation. But, all right, guys, man, we just got a giant downpour starting here at the Conroe station. I didn't think that was going to happen. But you are listening to Jake from Sports Talk. I want to thank you so much for listening to the first edition ever of Jake from Sports Talk. I got my khakis on. I'll have my red shirt next week. We'll have the video version going next week as well. You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5, 106.1, and worldwide on irlonestar.com. Get the replays, YouTube, irlonestar.com, podcast versions on Google Play, iTunes. Thanks for listening, guys. I hope you have your khakis on, ready to go next Wednesday from 1 to 2 p.m. You have a good day, guys. Bye.
All right, you're listening to Lone Star Community Radio here on irlonestar.com. That concludes our talk block for the rest of the day at 3 o'clock, or actually at 4 o'clock today, special time. Afternoons of Lone Star will be starting with Rick the Reluctant Cowboy. He's going to be in at 4 o'clock this week every weekday. So more music's coming your way right now. If you have a song request or if you have questions for Jake, call in, leave a message, 936-647-3776. Again, that was Jake from Sports Talk. Jake with Sports Talk. He's going to be here live in the studio every Wednesday from 1 to 2 p.m. Check him out on Facebook, online at irlonestar.com. Also, you can subscribe to him on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube following today. So if you enjoy that show, make sure to do that. It is 1:55 here on Lone Star Community Radio, and as Jake said, it is raining. That's right. A little downpour just happened. It's 91 degrees outside. Humidity's at 54%. This afternoon, we got continuous rain until around 4 p.m., and then it's going to clear up later tonight. The high today is going to be 95, low 75. Going on to traffic for Montgomery County here in the Montgomery County area. Everything's looking okay. Actually has not shifted at all due to the rain coming. I imagine people are going to start to get out of work a little early today because it is going to come today. So be careful on the road as it rains. But right now I'm not seeing any accidents or instances being reported. It is 1:56 here on Lone Star Community Radio. Let's get some Alan Jackson in our ears right now. Who's cheating who? We got great music coming up. We got Sleep at the Wheel. We got Garth Brooks, all that stuff coming up. So stick around here on Lone Star Community Radio, Montgomery County's community radio station worldwide at irlonestar.com and Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1.
Thanks for checking out this podcast of Lone Star Community Radio, Montgomery County's community radio station. If you enjoyed this recording, make sure to check out our past shows online at irlonestar.com or their respective video or podcast formats on YouTube, Google Play, or iTunes. If you have any questions regarding the show, either it being about sponsorships or questions for the host, contact the station manager at dick@irlonestar.com or call the station at 936-647-3776. This show is recorded in downtown Conroe, Texas at the Lone Star Community Radio Studios, and Lone Star Community Radio reserves all rights to this recording and images.